Hey guys, a few days ago the internet discovered the cast lineup for the Season 8 premiere, visible for all to see on HBO schedule. There are a few surprising names, such as Edmure Tully, but there are also a couple of notable absences such as the Night King, so let's just jump into it. The still unnamed premiere episode is listed as running exactly 1 hour, which lines up with the previous reports, but what's really interesting is the cast list. Most main characters will appear in the first episode of the final season, including Tormund Giantsbane and Beric Dondarrion, as Christopher Hivju and Richard Dormer, actors who played those two are in the cast lineup. This pretty much confirms that Tormund and Beric survived the fall of the wall in the season 7 finale. For all of you that have been following my channel, this is not coming as a huge surprise. Many fans were worried about their favorite wildling after the season 7 finale. Huge amount of fans believe they are dead, buried beneath the snow and ice. I already made a full video explaining how exactly the two survived the Night King's attack, and how the two will in fact be seen in the Season 8 premiere, in the aftermath of the Night King's attack on Eastwatch by the Sea. To anyone that has rewatched the Season 7 finale at least once, it's pretty obvious that Tormund and Beric survived. Instead of the entire wall, only the far eastern end of it was destroyed when the leader of the White Walkers attacked it using the undead dragon Viserion. Even though Tormund and Beric were on that very part of the wall at the moment of the Night King's attack, they're most certainly alive and well, and I'm not saying it only due to the fact that they're in cast lineup for Season 8 Episode 1, or because leaked photos show both actors shooting scenes for Season 8. If you rewatch the scene closely, you would notice a few details that are proving that Tormund and Beric survived and are stuck up in the part of the wall that did not collapse. Once the undead dragons started melting part of the wall in which they were standing, instead of running down the steps where we saw the other members of the Night's Watch die, Tormund and Beric ran west along the top section of the wall. Then they turned to see the icy structure crumbling in front of them, while they were standing safely on a section of the wall that did not collapse, and this is where they are currently stuck. Where will they go next? The Night King destroyed Eastwatch by the Sea along with the staircases embedded in the wall, so they are most certainly not going down. Between the Season 7 finale and the Season 8 premiere, Tormund and Beric are walking west to Castle Black, at which they'll arrive in the very first episode of the final season, and that's the first scene we'll see of them. Once they reach Castle Black, they will likely reunite with Ted, acting Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, tell him what happened at the Eastwatch, and lead the remaining forces of the Night's Watch south, because there's no use of them staying on the wall anymore. Then we got a bunch of minor characters appearing in Episode 1, such as Ellis Karstark, Ned Umber, Jon Royce, Lyanna Mormont, Mr. Vulcan, and Daenerys Dothraki Blood Rider Kono. Most of them will be together with all the main characters at Winterfell, at a great meeting with Jon Snow and Dany. Those who will not be there are Ellis Karstark and Ned Umber, whose castle will get destroyed by the Army of Dead in the same episode, and that's the last we'll see of them. But the real surprises are the two names on the list, actors Tobias Menzies, Edmure Tully, and Lena Feccioli, Robin and Ren. We have not seen Edmure since Season 6, when Voldor Frey forced him to help the Freys reclaim Riverrun, before throwing him into a dungeon beneath the Twins. I expected Arya to free her uncle after wiping out the Freys, at the start of Season 7, but it did not happen, or at least not on screen. Maybe Arya set him free off screen, or maybe someone else got him out when Arya massacred the Frey family in the Season 7 premiere, although in my opinion none of this happened. One way or another, Edmure will appear in the Season 8 premiere. In my opinion, Edmure is still being held captive, not by the Freys but by the Lannisters, the same men who were sent to the Riverlands to ensure peace. Edmure will, however, be freed by Jaime Lannister. At the end of Season 7, Jaime is heading north alone to help the living defend the north. He can't help much without an army, but that's not a problem since Jaime will get himself one along the way. The first we'll see of Jaime Lannister in Season 8 will be at the crossroads scene where he'll make a stop for the night. He'll be served by the cook hot pie. That's also the place where Bran will finally caught up with Jaime, and where the two will reunite. The next morning, the two won't continue traveling the King's Road that runs straight towards Winterfell, but instead will take on the river road that runs west into the Riverlands. Jaime and Bran will go to Riverrun to rally the Lannister forces that were sent to the Riverlands to ensure peace, and while at it, Jaime will set Edmure Tully free under one condition, to rally the Riverlands and march them north at once, to help his nieces and nephews defend Winterfell against the Night King. The reason Edmure Tully's reappearance comes as a surprise is due to the fact that he himself announced that he is probably not coming back. However, it turns out he was just throwing us off. Game of Thrones has a ton of characters, and with 6 episodes left, there might not be time to feature all of them. Based on what an actor who plays Edmure had to say, we did not expect him to be back on screen. I have no idea if Edmure is returning. Actor Tobias Menzies told Digital Spy in the middle of filming. He's obviously somewhere in a prison. He's still around alive somewhere. They're pretty stingy with their information and I've not heard anything from them. I feel like they have so many stories to tie up. Whether that's a story they'll want to go back to, I don't know. This was long after all the cast members had gathered for a Season 8 table read, and if Menzies had not heard anything by then, we suspected Edmure would not show up. It turns out he was just throwing us off. There are a few more surprises, such as the appearance of Melisandre and Robin Arryn. We all knew Melisandre would be back at some point, but most did not expect to see her in episode 1. There's not much to say about it, but one thing is certain, she will not be back at Westeros. We'll see Melisandre at Volantis. However, she'll soon be back at Westeros to face her end. Robin Arryn, on the other hand, has not appeared since Season 6, when Littlefinger manipulated him into setting the Knights of the Vale to Sansa's rescue. Not much to say about this either. He'll be at Winterfell meeting. Anyways, beside a few unexpected returns, there are also a couple of notable absences, including Vladimir Furdik as the Night King and Mark Risman as Harry Strickland, the leader of the Golden Company. We know that both will show up in Season 8, but apparently they sit out the premiere. These leaks could be a confirmation of a theory of mine regarding the Night King and his master plan. The Night King flies Viserion south, while his army ravages the north. All the main characters in Game of Thrones, as well as all of us fans, expect a great battle to be fought in the north, on a front defined by the advanced army of the dead, and partly we are correct. The north will face a 100,000 strong army of White Walkers and their whites, but the Night King will fly Viserion to the far south across the whole Westeros and will raise the dead, thus the entire continent will be facing a horde of whites overnight. This theory of mine has not only been foreshadowed multiple times throughout the show, but it's also supported with a few visions from the future that are yet to come true. The shadow of a dragon flying over King's Landing, and the one in which Bran sees King's Landing in winter with an empty throne room that has its roof blown off, the same one Dany saw in the House of the Undying. Basically, the Night King will create a huge army in the south, while sacrificing his current army in the north. Cersei plans to take the advantage of the war between the living and the dead, and will try to retrieve the lands that are currently taken away from her. Basically, while the living are fighting the dead, Cersei will try to, as she calls it, retrieve kingdoms that belong to her with the mercenary organization, the Golden Company. In the far north, on the other hand, the Night King has brought down a large section of the wall at Eastwatch, allowing his army to march south, while the most of Westeros has agreed to unite and send their forces north to fight against the only enemy that matters. So we all expect the Great War to take place in the north, and we all expect Cersei to quietly rebuild her power while the fight happens elsewhere. Well, we might be wrong. Now that the Night King is in possession of a dragon and no longer has to worry about the wall, he'll most likely cause devastation across the whole Westeros, not only the north. The leader of White Walkers can now fly anywhere in Westeros relatively quickly, and he can raise the dead. Not only is this a place where people in most cases don't burn the dead, but due to the recent wars ravaging Westeros, there are plenty of corpses laying in mass graves. As I already said, all the main characters expect the great battle to be fought in the north, on a front defined by the advanced army of the dead, and partly we are correct. The north will face a 100,000 strong army of the White Walkers and their whites, but the Night King will fly Viserion to the far south across the whole Westeros and will raise the dead, thus the entire continent will be facing a horde of whites overnight. In other words, while the Night King's army deals with a few castles in the north, which we'll get to see in episode 1, the Night King will spend an entire Season 8 premiere flying south and forming his new army, which we'll get to see in episode 2. That's why the Night King will not be seen in episode 1 in my opinion. Also remember this, while prophecies in Game of Thrones don't literally come true, visions on the other hand do. We know this for a fact as in the 6th episode of the 6th season, after Mira flees the cave with Bran received multiple visions of past and future events, and one of his visions from the future already came true in Season 6 finale. Bran's vision of the exploding wildfire already came true as Cersei Qyburn used it 4 episodes later to destroy the Great Sept of Baelor with majority of her enemies. The remaining 2 visions from the future that are yet to come true are Shadow of a Dragon flying over King's Landing, and the one in which Bran sees King's Landing in winter with an empty throne room that has its roof blown off. At first glance, this would imply that Dany does end up reaching and taking over King's Landing eventually, but the crumbled building, the Red Keep, and burnt houses with the wintry background are of the major importance. Dany would not destroy the Red Keep in which the Iron Throne is, nor would she burn down houses where innocent people live, as proven in numerous Season 7 scenes. The damage done to the Red Keep and to the houses, however, is consistent with something that Dany's dragons would be able to do, the main suspect being her dead dragon Viserion. While the leader of White Walkers is forming an army across all of Westeros, his current army that has in the Season 7 finale finally crossed into the north, will in the Season 8 premiere hit and destroy castles of House Sombra and House Karstark, just as Jon in the Season 7 premiere said they would if the wall falls. Keep it in mind that these Brain's visions will come true, one way or another. These Brain's visions, one of which Danny had as well, along with leaked photos in which we can see that big portion of King's Landing will at some point be burned down, are the biggest hints that the Night King will fly Viserion to the far south and raise the dead across all of Westeros, thus leaving Cersei's plan quite a bit ruined and also surprising the entire living side. I think we've covered it all. Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section down below, and if you have some questions, feel free to comment. I'll be answering some in the upcoming Q&A video. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.